You're watching In the Office. My name is Bray. Let's do some more quote learning. Today for episode number 25, I've entitled it Calculated with Extra Intent. If I were to try to break down all the categories of people that share quotes and share ideas, I have basically boiled it down to two categories. And these categories are a bit intrusive, if you will, because we're trying to get into the minds of other people and figure out their motives. Now that can be a silly game to play if the ideas or if the concepts are frivolous. But if the ideas and if the concepts are of significance, then this is one of those things that probably doesn't get done enough. Trying to look and see what that extra intent that could be impacted in something is. A lot of times it's in that extra intent that you find the actual motivation. A lot of times people share things as just a bridge to another idea, because we're not really good at plain speak. We're not really good at coming out and saying exactly what it is that we want to say. I know that it's true for people on the left side of the spectrum, because maybe they're couching their ideas because they don't want people to know exactly where it is that they're coming from because of the scrutiny that they may get. And it happens on the conservative side as well, where you try to crouch your ideas because you don't want the scrutiny to come too early before people get a chance to engage with your ideas. The extra intent behind something is very, very important. And many times I think we do not mine through it to see what it could be. But if it's a very important idea, topic, or situation, that extra intent can be all the difference in something being a positive or a complete failure. When I say I break down the people that share things into two categories, I've got it boiled down to two basic categories. Now, there are people that don't fit neatly, but most people would. You have the people that are highly calculated. That means if they post something, they have really thought about the message that they're trying to send, even so much so they're thinking about the whom it's coming from. Sometimes I share things from people that would be considered controversial, and that's okay. I've actually took the time to look through their body of work, and I'm comfortable with their body of work. I wouldn't agree 100%, but the body of their work I tend to agree with. Then the other category that I have are the whimsical sharers. Those are people who see something and they're just like, oh yeah, I like that. And they go ahead and they share it without knowing whom it comes from. Maybe you've seen the man on the street videos where they give attribution of a quote to one person, and they say, do you like that? And then they reveal who actually said it, and the person's like, really? They said that? That can be the case with these people. They may not really understand the origin of the person sharing it or the body of work of the person sharing it, but they share it anyway because it sounded really nice. I've seen many quotes that I've shared as jokes throughout the years. They'll be like Abraham Lincoln quotes, and you know he didn't share them because there will be some tech connotation to it, or there will be some geopolitical connotation that happened or developed after his death. And people share them sometimes, and I get tickled by it. Or sometimes people will share, it'll be a post, it'll be a Star Wars character that looks like Jesus, and they'll be like, you know, if you love Jesus, make sure that you share him, and people know that somebody has tricked you. The whimsical share tends to be much more emotional in their approach, and the highly calculated person has a good bit of emotion, but they're very methodical, and they are, conscientious of the message that they're trying to send. Let's not get too in the weeds, but this is where it gets tricky. When you have one person who's highly calculated sharing something from someone else who's highly calculated, but they don't agree with their body of work. So let me give you an example. Recently, someone told me that their pastor shared in a sermon a quote from President Barack Obama. Well, here's what's tricky. When you have a pastor who's highly calculated and you have a former president who was a community organizer, politician, who's very, very calculated in his approach to life, so much so that he puts more ums in a statement than just about any politician that I could think of. Calculated. Is there extra intent? Let me go ahead and say that there's not always extra intent. Sometimes highly calculated people share things whimsically. It does happen. But it doesn't hurt you or I to have our eyes open in case we start to get suspicious of somebody sharing things with extra intent. It never hurts to have the conversation with someone privately when they share something that you're curious about. I know that when we preach at our churches that people have the ability to come talk to us about anything that we've said from the pulpit if they have concerns about it. Open door policy on that. Or if you're sharing something in the office or with a group of students, allow people to have that option to come back and talk to you and say, hey, was there anything extra that I'm missing here? Were you trying to get to this conclusion? It doesn't even hurt to take the conclusions that you may draw, the extra intents that you think they may be placing in this, and drawing the conclusion and just asking them in a reverse engineered sort of way, hey, I feel like this is the conclusion that you're trying to get to. Is that right, or am I reading too much into this? And if they're a person of integrity, they'll tell you yes or no. And then if they're not a person of integrity, then you can at least have that question mark looming, and you have the knowledge that you actually sniffed out a potentiality, and that you can just prepare yourself in case it creeps up again. Yes, highly calculated people can let their guard down and they can become whimsical sharers, and whimsical sharers themselves can actually couch themselves sometimes and be highly calculated with extra intent. That's why now most of your influencers don't use the news media anymore, but they use comedy. Late night comedy is the way in which they try to kind of wedge their agendas into people, because they look at these people that look very whimsical, but in truth, they're highly calculated. Now look, we're not here to throw stones at every single person, and we're not here to have witch trials. We're here to use discernment. All I'm saying is some people are highly calculated, some people are whimsical sharers. Make sure that you can sort of identify, and you can make sure that the content doesn't get over on you, that someone's not trying to slide something past you because they're highly calculated and you didn't realize that they had inserted extra intent. And also, if someone's a whimsical sharer, don't stress yourself out all the time thinking that they're always trying to slide something by you. Maybe they just shared something in just a blip of a moment and they had nothing else inside of them except wanting to share that. I'm highly calculated, but I love to share certain memes that have no other agenda except to be funny. You could try to read into them, but really that's the end of it. That's the end of what I'm trying to say. There's a joke in it. Let's laugh. Let's smile a little bit and be done. Calculated with extra intent. Some people are, some people aren't. For the people that are, if they're in leadership, you have to just be aware. For those that are not, understand they may be influencing people, and that can be okay because it's a free country. But just be aware, and then that way you're better protected against the potentials of extra intent that gets inserted into your daily life. You'll be looking around, discerning but not stressing, praying and trusting, and we'll see you next time.